Hello. I was here with my sister. We're going to do a live talking about growing up as Jehovah's Witnesses. She popped off for a second.
Yeah, sorry about that. I lost the internet.
No, she's back. Oh, okay. So yeah, let me just check. Right, okay. So we're live on YouTube. We just check we're live in the group. So if you're watching this in the group, you have to give StreamYard permission. And if you look in the description to show your name, but sometimes it still doesn't. And I'm not sure whether that's because it's a closed group that it doesn't publicly show your name. So if I flash your comments up on screen, you might come up as YouTube user. I don't always like see who's making the comments. Also, last week when I did a live, my personal profile wasn't showing anybody's comments. So if you want to ask us any questions, put your questions in the comments. But if I'm not acknowledging your questions, it's more than likely I can't see them. So if you can't see them on my personal Facebook, if you want to skip over to YouTube, then the comments were definitely coming through there. So Amy, have you found where your comment section is?
Nope.
No. On your phone, is it at the bottom?
Yeah, I've got the option for mic, cam, mic, chat, and leave. That's literally what I've got.
Oh, okay. So if I show the comments, so hello, Anthony.
Oh, he's here. Hi.
Hi, XJ Job Cafe.
Oh, hang on a minute. I can, yeah, Mary.
Hi, Mary. You found
them?
Yeah,
they're automatically coming up.
Okay. Hi, Facebook user. I presume you're in my group and I can't see your name. And hello, another Facebook user. Yeah. So yeah, this is my younger sister, Amy. So we're going to talk about a few subjects, like I said, about our childhood. And what I was going to start off by saying is it was our granddad who was a Jehovah's Witness. That's where, because me and Amy and my brother are third generation. And he was a very, very strict Jehovah's Witness, weren't he? Like no TV. Only magazines allowed in his house was the Watchtower, to the point they knew he had died because he missed a Jehovah's Witness convention, which was not like him. And they went to his home and they found him sat up in bed reading the Watchtower, passed away. Yeah. That's how much of a Jehovah's Witness he was, weren't it?
You remember that board game that he inspired Mum to make?
That's ringing a bell.
That board game with little, we had to match the captions to the scripture.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
But he was what they call like super spiritual, wasn't he? He was just, and yeah. So Anthony said it seems like what years since he's seen you, Amy.
Oh, man, honestly, mate, I am dying to come back up north. Seriously.
Yeah. So so obviously my mum was brought up. Well, apparently I found out recently that my granddad was a massive gambler when he was married to Mum's mum. And then he became a Jehovah's Witness. So I don't know whether it was because of his gambling addiction, because apparently he sold most of the things in the house to fund his gambling addiction. So whether that then attracted him to the Jehovah's Witnesses because he's seeing it as something that would, because they're like, well, we'll help you recover from this and we'll help you do that. And so then like he split up with our nan and he married our stepnan Velia. And then mum left the religion when she was 16. She was pregnant with me. She had you and Rob. And then at age 24, she'd already gone back to the meetings and got baptized. So obviously she took us with her. And then we was living in Birmingham at the time. And from what I've been told, because I was too young to remember this, Nan moved from Birmingham to Tamworth, and Mum was talking to some Jehovah's Witnesses in Birmingham, and our dad wanted to try and get her away from these Jehovah's Witnesses because he never ever wanted to be involved with it. So then he moved us to Tamworth as well, which Mum wanted to do because obviously Nan had moved. But then apparently these Jehovah's Witness friends of Mum's followed us to Tamworth as well. So then Mum had like more influence still, and then she practically like chose dad, and she chose the religion over dad. And dad left. I remember, like I was talking to you earlier, I remember the day he left. I got up and he was obviously very angry, and he'd threw yellow paint up the kitchen cupboards. He'd broke like the ironing board in half, and he'd left. And then I remember you was in a pushchair, Rob was in a pram, and I was pushing your pushchair, and it was a very, very icy day, and the pushchair kept tipping backwards, and I was getting really upset. Like I was about 6, 7 at this point, so I was crying because like it was really bad, slippy ice, and I was panicking, tipping you backwards. And Mum was like, come on, we've got to get to our friends, we'll be all right when we get there. And like, I vividly remember that. And obviously then Mum went on to meet a Jehovah's Witness, who became our stepdad then. And then they got married when I was 8. So you would have been what? 5, 6?
5, yeah, 6.
Yeah.
I was 5 when they got married. Sorry, I didn't know any of that from. Oh God.
Yeah. So yeah.
I didn't know any of that. Obviously, I was too young to remember.
Yeah. So then I just remember like meeting our stepbrother and sister then, and then obviously we moved in with them when Mum and stepdad got married, and then it was like full Jehovah's Witness from there on then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing is like, I mean, I know things the way they are, but like props to our stepdad really, because he took us all on, albeit in such a cult, but he took us on. He did. And obviously I know like I stayed in the religion longer than you did. He did a lot for me. He did.
Yeah.
Like the day I married Steve, he gave me the option to get out of it. And obviously we'll come back to that at a later point.
Yeah.
He was adamant to give me an option out of marrying him. Which I wish I'd have listened to him. Obviously, but
it's always the way, isn't it? When you look back.
I know.
Can everybody hear us okay? And me and Amy kind of on the same level. Like one of us not really loud, one of us really quiet. I can't hear any feedback going on this time, so obviously there's not a fucking annoying noise like last time in the background. So let us know if we sound okay. So I wrote a list of questions that I thought would make good topics for us to talk about. So, as kids, did we enjoy door knocking? Like, because as a child, you don't really get much choice. Like, so you're practically like dragged out with your parents to go knocking on people's doors.
Seriously, my worst experience. I was 8, right, and I was with Mum, and this guy answered the door, and he was huge, like seriously huge, and he came to the door in just a pair of jeans, massive beer belly hanging over, hairy, and he just stared at me, and I just covered my face and screamed.
I'd forgot about that story.
And Mum apologised on my behalf, But he thought it was really funny, and he had the magazines off Mum and said she could go back, and I was like, I am never going back there again. It was so
Funny.
embarrassing.
I'd completely forgot about that. I'd heard about it before. Okay, so Amy, apparently you have an Echo, but I'm not. If you've got buds in, haven't you?
I've got my Should I take them out?
Have you got us on loudspeaker phone on your phone or anything?
No, I've just got you on my Bluetooth
Oh,
earbud.
okay. So it shouldn't be echoing there.
Can I try it without that?
You can if you want for a second, see if it makes any difference.
Right, hold on.
I'm not tech savvy, you know this.
Is that any better?
Okay, can people let us know, is Amy stop echoing?
I can still hear an echo.
Amy has some feedback. Hi, Facebook user. I'm not sure who you are, sorry. I presume that's in my group.
I can still hear an echo.
Hi, Amy.
Oh, no, not now. It's gone.
Okay, we'll see how we go like that for a bit. So yeah, like I hated door knocking, especially when it was somebody like a local area and somebody from school would answer the door. That was always like the dreaded thing. I hated it, and I hated working around our estate and then having to walk through the estate. And I used to do what is now known as okay, someone said it sounds good here. Maybe that made a difference. I used to do what people call ghost knocking. So I used to like tap like really lightly and then hoping that nobody would somebody said it sounds way better without you.
Oh, brilliant. Okay.
I was hoping like nobody would hear me knock the door, and then we'd just stand there chatting for ages and then leave, because those people that don't know, you have to like count your time. So we used to try and like drag it out as far as possible. We'd knock on one door so then we can look at the time and start our time, and then we'd walk like 2 miles just chatting, and then we can count that time, like the distance in between then.
Do you remember that group of kids that called us gypsies?
Yes. We weren't even out door knocking then, were we? We were just walking into town. I thought we were walking into town.
Yeah, but we were supposed to be out door knocking.
One of the times when we snuck off into town and still like said, oh yeah, we give out leaflets to people, because that's the other thing. In between where you're walking from one destination to another, you're supposed to give people in the street leaflets, so you legitimately still count your time. So we'd be like, yeah, we gave leaflets out, like bullshit.
There was one other time I remember, because you remember how long my hair was? And
you could sit on your hair when we were a kid.
Yeah, it used to take Mum like 2 hours to wash and dry it. And I remember one of the doors that we were going to go up, there was Dad and Rob working together and me and Mum. And there was like loads of pigeons that were sat on this like little terrace thing over the door. And Mum said, I'm not going up there with Amy because I've just washed her hair, and if those pigeons keep on her hair, I'll have to wash it again. So I'm not doing that. So she made Dad go to that door.
Wow, that's funny. And that just reminds me of when we were going to Birmingham to see Namvelia, and we were going to get the bus, and I had this horrible red jumper. I don't know if you remember it. And this bird shit on my shoulder. And I was really upset. And I'm like, because I was young and I wanted to go home and get changed. And Mum was like, we can't because we're going to miss the bus to Birmingham. And I was like, bird pooed on me. I need to go home and get changed. And she wouldn't let me. She just gave me some tissue to wipe it off. But I was like just self-conscious then that like this bird had pooed on me.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
Yeah. There was just me and Mum going to see Namvelia, I think, on our own. I'm not sure why.
I remember when we were going on holiday in Llandudno, and them making us find the Kingdom Hall the day we got there.
Yeah, we'll come to that. That's on the list to
right. Were we ever afraid of door knocking? Yes. Very
But,
afraid.
like, do you mean afraid of people's reactions to us? What might happen, Mary? Because like it was very nerve-wracking. I know someone got threatened with a knife, didn't they, or something?
Veronica Payne.
Yeah, maybe we shouldn't
Oh,
mention names. I don't know.
Oh, sorry.
Oh well, I mean, if it's a legit story, then you know it might be all right. But
Yeah. Should we just say the twins? Because they were twins. Yeah, they got chased down a drive by a guy with a carving knife.
I thought somebody had. Yeah.
Mm.
So the only good thing about going to door was all the animals I would meet. That's it. See, I'm
No,
scared of
you know
dogs,
what?
so I used to
No.
dread people's dogs come running out.
Yes, because when I was married to Steve, and I was stood in this little cul-de-sac, and I was by this fence, and seriously, this dog nearly bit my ear off, and I wasn't even on their drive.
What?
Yeah, seriously, I think I was like 24 at the time.
So Facebook user, I presume from a group, says my mum and I got met at the door with a shotgun. Fuck.
Jesus.
Wow. If you want to switch to where we can see your names, then you could always switch to YouTube, if you've got a YouTube channel. But other than that, sorry, I can't see your name. So
That's got to
yeah,
be America.
yeah, I presume so. But yeah, like I hated door knocking, like yeah, especially like we had to get up on a Saturday morning, and everyone was like still at home, snug, watching cartoons. And
Yeah.
I remember there used to be, was it oh, Amy's gone. I guess her internet's gone down. 11:30 on a Saturday morning, there used to be the chart show, where it used to show. Do you remember the chart show at 11:30 on a Saturday morning?
Yeah, we used to race back for it.
So yeah, but that was frowned upon because like that meant we were only door knocking for about an hour by the time we got out and got back. But that's why if it started raining, we'd be like, yes, it's raining, we can go home and watch the chart show now. So
yeah.
That was like really cool to get out of it. Like anything to get out of it. I remember when I got older as well, I got to the point where I refused to go out on Christmas Day because they still expected you to go and knock on people's doors on Christmas Day. And I remember saying to Mum and Stepdad, out of all the days they don't want us there, today is especially the day. So when I got older, I refused to go and knock on people's doors on Christmas Day because I just thought that was really pushing it. Hi, Abs. Yeah. Abby's watching us.
Hi, Abby. I only went door knocking on Christmas Day like twice, I think.
So, right, next question. I think we've covered. We didn't like knocking doors. That's for sure.
For sure. Yeah.
Right. Did we enjoy the meetings? Because those that don't know, back in the day, which has changed recently, we used to have 3 meetings a week we used to have to go to. So there'd be like a Sunday morning or Sunday afternoon, depending what time your congregation was assigned to. Then we'd have the Tuesday night and a Thursday night. So one of them would be a book study where the congregation was split up into smaller groups and you'd meet at somebody's house, and that was an hour. And then you'd have, I think the Sunday was it 2 hours, just under?
Yeah, 2 hours.
And then the Thursday night would be at the Kingdom Hall, and that would be another 2 hours. So did we enjoy attending the meeting?
When I was awake.
Yeah. I used to fall asleep so often, like during the Watchtower study. Because those that don't know, it's like an article and then there'd be paragraphs and a question underneath, and they'd read the paragraph and the answer would be in the paragraph, but they'd ask for like audience participation. And I'd feel this jab in my side and I'd be like, what? And Mum would be like, you was asleep? I'd be like, no, I wasn't. And she'd be like, why are you 2 pages behind? I'd be like, oh crap. and just like flick through. But I used to, people used to laugh at me because I used to be there because our mum and stepdad used to make us sit right at the front of the Kingdom Hall. So I'd be there going,
yeah.
and people used to be laughing behind me, my head bobbing, and because like I just,
yeah. My favourite time was when me and you were arguing over Dad's Kingdom Ministry, and we ripped it.
Because we were fighting over who was going to hold it. But either I snatched it off you or you snatched it off me. One of us was left with a little corner. But like, we looked at each other like, now we're in trouble.
Yeah.
Because like stepdad took the publication so seriously that I was telling someone the other day, like when we did the Revelation book at the book study for like, was it like the second or third time? And I had them magic marker felt tip pens where you get a white one and it changes the colour. So I did these big thick lines to underline the answers, and then with a white pen I drew a pattern in the lines, and stepdad went mad because he said like I was graffiti in the book, and I was just like, it's artistic. I think I was about 18 at the time. I was like, it's artistic. And then he made me buy a new one. Every time we studied it, we had to buy a new one because the old ones were already underlined. But so that was like kind of cheating. But I remember when we got caught as well, because those of you that don't know, like even though we went to the meetings, we also had to pre-study for the meetings. So you'd get like a list of what was going to be studied at the meeting, and then at home you was expected to pre-study that before going to the meeting. So we'd have to go through the watchtower and the question and answer and underline the answers, so it was all prepped ready for the meeting. And if we didn't do that, we would get into trouble. But me, Amy and Rob came up with this plan that we'd take it in turns where one of us does it and then passes it to the other two, when we just copy, flick the page, copy. And then we'd done that for quite a while until I can't remember whether it was mum or stepdad said, why have you three all got the same answers underlined? And we was like, so they kind of figured out what we were doing. But then we still carried on, but we just said, just make your underlining like slightly different, because then only one of us had to have the chore of like going through it all. So yeah,
I remember getting quizzed like right before we were leaving for the meeting, like, have you done this study, have you done that study? And, you know, asking questions about it. And then the main one was, have you got an underskirt on? that was the main one.
I forgot about that.
Like, really? You couldn't go to the meeting unless you'd got an underskirt on. It's like, what? And I used to have to lift up the hem of my skirt just to prove that I've got an underskirt on. It's like, why are you interested in what I've got under my skirt?
And you know, now thinking back, with stepdad being an elder, he would have obviously known things that we didn't know. So the fact that that could have been him being protective over you and people seeing through your skirt.
Yeah.
So he could have been doing that as a protective measure, because we don't know what people in our congregation did. I remember me and Liz complained once about, I won't say his name, but a ministerial servant, because at the group, me and Liz was messing around and we were sat on the bench, and this was at our house. I don't know if you remember this. And this ministerial servant turned around to me and Liz and said, oh, if you bounce any more, you're going to end up on my lap. And we were just like, we were teenagers, and we were just like, ooh, that's really wrong. So I told stepdad what he'd said, and he says, just keep away from him. And I don't know whether something was said to him, but like the way he said that was like cringy. And then me and Liz we wouldn't go near him after that, because it was just like, So being an elder, he would have known who the predators were. and that they were in the congregation. So that's probably why he was like saying to you, like, make sure you've got an underskirt on. It's quite worrying when you think about it. Amy, you've lost volume. You're muted. Hold on, I'll unmute you.
Am I back?
Yeah.
I don't know what I did there. Yeah. God, there's just so many experiences where like the brothers had just made inappropriate comments. Like even when I was like engaged to be married, and you know that I had this one minister or servant say to me, well, I hope my wife dies so I can marry you.
Wow.
And I was literally just like freshly engaged. I was like 18 years old, and he was handing out the magazines. You know, I used to go to the back and collect your magazines for the month.
Yeah.
And you know, he'd often just make little digs. But yeah, the worst one was him saying, well, if my wife dies, then I'm going to marry you. And he was like 40, 50 years my senior.
Wow.
And I'm like,
and you was already engaged as well?
Yeah. And
wow.
I was just like, you know, I was just like, obviously I was just so timid then, not like I am now.
Yeah,
I'm a right gobby cow now, but
but you always have been.
But back then, I was just like...
Only at home was you back then?
Huh?
You was only like that at home back then?
Yeah, I know. And I'm just like... It's like, how can they get away with saying comments like that to young girls?
Yeah. I feel sorry for his wife. You'll have to tell me backstage after who that was.
Well,
Anthony said he's only ever been to one meeting, think it might have been the worst experience of my life. So that's when Anthony is like my best friend, one of my best friends, and my neighbour, literally my neighbour, and he's also my activism partner.
And he's brilliant.
So he came to the Child Sex Abuse Watchtower study with me last year. So that was his first experience of going to a meeting, and obviously he doesn't want to go to anymore.
Yeah, definitely not. Well, what's the next subject?
Oh, okay. So Mike said he'd feel a sense of dread on those 3 days until the next meeting. Let me just go through these comments. Do you remember this? Did you buy your books? Yes. Before they became free in the 90s, we used to have to like buy magazines and books.
Yeah, I remember that.
I used to buy as little as possible.
I think I was about 13 at the time when they stopped charging, 13, 14, when they stopped charging for them. I remember having to pay a penny per leaflet.
I forgot they charged for the leaflets, and then we used to have to sit there folding like a big massive pile of these leaflets.
Yeah. Well, I remember doing that when we was in the Kettlebrook congregation, and I was 11 when we went into that hall. I
was definitely working when they went to the charity. We didn't realise at the time it was a charity status. We do know.
Yeah.
But when they went, all the literature is now free, it's contribution based. I was working because I remember they were trying to pressure everybody into signing their tax that they paid over to them. So now it kind of makes sense because you can pay your tax to a charity. So it kind of makes sense now. But they didn't tell us that they'd registered as a charity. They just said, the literature is free.
They still do that, but you'll find like a lot of places will like you can claim your tax back. Like one of the wildlife parks that's close to us, they say like, do you want to gift aid it so they can claim your tax back? which is fine for a wildlife park. I don't mind that.
Yeah, Facebook user. We went. I think it was. Would it been? I left in '96, so it would have been a few years before that. So it would have been kind of early '90s. We went donation based.
Yeah, it was.
It definitely wasn't for us. It wasn't as early as '86.
No, it wasn't. It was like about 92, 93,
Yeah,
I
must
would
have been.
say. Yeah.
But like that's another thing with the contribution box. I used to like just drop in 2s and 1s, so it sounded like lots of money, but it wasn't. And then our stepdad had the job of counting the contribution box. So when he tip it onto the table in the kitchen, those 2s and 1s that come out, that's 7p. I'll be sitting there thinking, that's me. And they're probably thinking, oh, my little kids give that out of the pocket money. I'll be like, no, that's me.
Yeah.
So, right. Okay, so another thing we had to do at the meetings was give talks. So those that don't know, like the males in the religion can get up on like a podium stage thing and give talks. It's normally like 5-10 minutes where that you're literally given a topic ahead of time, and you have to come up with I don't know, what would you call it? It's just, I don't know how to explain a talk. It's like a speech, isn't it? Like, so you'd have to give like a speech and explain that topic. Well, the women wasn't allowed to get up singular. They had to do it as a couple. And what they would have to do is kind of like act out a scene. And most times it would be like one person would pretend to be a non-Jehovah's Witness, and the other one giving the talk, as it was called, would be the witness. And you'd have a certain subject that was brought up as like an obstacle, and you would have to explain that, like with the Bible and stuff like that. So it was a bit like a little drama thing, and it was like 5 minutes that you had to do it for. So
oh my god.
So did you enjoy doing talks, Amy?
No, I've got so many memories. Do you remember Michael hitting Mum in the mouth with a microphone?
Yeah. Because that was the other thing, because they were sat at this table, there was always like an assigned male would go up, and there was like microphones on a stand, and they would have to adjust it to the right level to pick up what they were saying, and he turned it too quick, didn't he, and just smacked you in the mouth with it. I was crying. I was laughing so much.
Do you remember Nicola and Dion though?
Yes.
They had a talk with each other, and they both literally just sat there laughing. And then after about 5 minutes of laughing, they just got up and walked off.
See, Nikki and Dion were our two like best friends growing up, and because they were laughing and we was on the front row, we were laughing.
They they're still like really good friends. Oh my god, it was so funny. But like I remember one of the assemblies, when I was married to Steve, because I didn't settle into our new congregation because we'd moved our area, I had to go on this Pioneer Assist program, and it was like one of the pioneers. She was really, really nice. And then I had to go on stage at Dudley at 3 different assemblies and just give a massive interview of how beneficial this program had been to me, like with making friends and stuff.
Wow.
And it was really embarrassing because I had a really bad chest infection as well at the time. So I was like trying to hold back like my cough and stuff like that, but oh god, it was so embarrassing. I'm just like, how I did it, I'll never know. Never know.
That's brave. I wouldn't have liked to got up in front of like a convention full of people. But like as Mike said as well, like not only did you give the talk, they gave you like what they called counselling afterwards. So they would basically criticize you on what you did, because when they give you the topic, they'd give you something that you had to work on, like gestures, using your hands and
Do you
pausing.
remember? Do you remember I had a talk with you on relative worship, and I had not researched it one little bit, and I did it, and before Ray Foster, before he introduced us, he said, just note, brothers and sisters, that this is not a talk about your actual relatives. This is something different. And I was like, oh my God, I've done it all wrong. I haven't researched this at all.
Funny.
And then when I got off the platform, he said to me, well, that was quite obvious that you did no research on that subject at all. And I was like, God's sake.
I don't remember that.
Don't you? I do. Yeah.
But I remember when, like, because the person that we had to talk with, we'd quite often get together as well and practice it before we had to do it live at the meeting.
Yeah.
And my talk, you had to try and make it last 5 minutes, and my talk would last 5 minutes. But I would literally get up live on the platform and I'd be like, blah, 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 2.5 minutes and get off. Because I just want it over and done with it, get it so fast. So they'd be like, you need to work on your pausing. So I used to have to put like dots between my sentences to make actual pauses. And then they used to like have a scorecard where they'd put like W for work, I for improved, G for good. And once you got the G, you could move on to the next. But mine used to go like work, go. I'd be stuck on like, oh.
I remember the ones Mum had a talk with, I think it was with Barbara Clinton.
Right.
And it was around the time Mum was having like really bad panic attacks. And I had been rehearsing this talk with Mum. And what's happening to my camera? Yeah, and Mum had, like 2 minutes before the talk, she freaked out and she ran to the back of the hall, and I followed her. And she was like, I can't do it. I can't do this talk. You're going to have to do it for me. And I just literally had to just click in and stand up for her. And, you know, it was mad because like I was only young.
I did it to Mum. I think that was one of the very last talks I ever gave, about 2 years before I left. I think it was with Linda. And obviously Mum had practiced the talk with me, and then it was about 5 minutes before I just handed her all the notes and said, you're gonna have to do it. And she was like, what? I was like, I can't do it. And then I went out the back, and I now know that was anxiety, and I didn't know what anxiety was, obviously. And then next time I got a talk, I was ill, and it used to physically give me like headaches and make me feel ill. And going to meetings, like the amount I missed towards the end because it gave me headaches, and I think it was just like a psychological reaction to it. And then so because I missed so many talks because I was always ill, they stopped assigning me to any in the end. So I don't know, my brain just couldn't cope with it. I was just, I can't do that anymore.
I used to dread my name coming up on that board. I remember when I was married to Steve, there was my name come up on the board, and it was a really tough subject of like the explaining the 7 apocalypse or something like that. And I was just like, I said to the guy who was in charge, I was like, I'm going to be ill for this. And I did it. I did the talk. I had rerun it with whoever I got it with. And I'd got it literally down to a T. but then, like 3 days before the actual talk, I came down with a really bad chest infection.
Right.
So, like the person who I was supposed to be doing the talk with, I gave her all the notes, and I was like, "Look, I'm too poorly to be there. Can you do it for me? Here's all the notes." And she was like, "Yeah, yeah, that's fine." And the guy who was over assigning the talks was like, "You told me ages ago you were going to be ill for this, and I believe you're faking it, blah, blah, blah." And I was
Wow.
like, I'm really not. I'm really not. I'm really poorly.
And let me just explain by up on the board what Amy means is at the back of the Kingdom Hall, for those of you who don't know, there was like a public notice board. So they would, I presume, the elders decide who's going to give talks at what meetings, and they would literally do a print off and stick it on the board. So then you would have to go and check to see if you're on that board for an upcoming talk, but also everybody else would know as well. So if you backed out, if you was ill or couldn't do it, everybody knew you were backed out as well. So it was like such like a public thing, weren't it?
Yeah, it was. It was. Yeah.
Mary said, have you ever thought about listing off human rights violations of the JWs? Yeah. That's another whole show just in itself. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Mary is the ex-Amish lady. So I've watched a few of the lives that Mary's done, and her friend Jo reeled off the human rights violations, and we were just like, can we talk about this one? Can we talk about this one? Like, it was just off the scale. Like, yeah. So what else have we got listed here? Right, so school. Did we get bullied? Did we get teased at school for being Jehovah's Witnesses? Did we do things in secret that we wasn't supposed to?
Yep. Right. Every January after the Christmas holidays, my friends would say, "What did you get for Christmas?" I couldn't turn around and say nothing, could I?
Well,
seriously.
Mum's mum, our nan, used to still buy us Christmas presents when we were younger. So
Yeah.
when people used to come up to me and try and take the piss, going, "What did you get for Christmas?" I'd be like, "Well, actually, I got roller boots and I got this and I got that." And they'd be like, "Oh." And then because Dad used to still buy us presents as well. So I felt good being able to come back and say, "Well, I had this actually."
I used to trump it up a little bit. And that leads me to, like, one of my friends used to say to me, "Oh, what did you do last night?" And I'm like, "Oh, I saw my boyfriend." Never mind that it was someone at the Kingdom Home who was supposed to be my childhood sweetheart. And they were like, "Oh, did you watch Neighbours and Emmerdale and Home and Away?" And I'm like, "No, because I was out." You know, I felt like I really needed to trump up like what we'd done the weekends, and no, I used to lie so much about Christmas. Because, like, you know, my friends would be getting like all this cool stuff, and I got an Etch-a-Sketch.
God, I remember that Etch-a-Sketch. Yeah. Wow.
And Rob broke it by jumping on my bed on top of it.
Well, you like breaking people's toys when you were little.
She'll talk. We'll not mention that, okay?
Oh, you're not going to tell the story how you broke mine and Rob's recorder, smashed them on the stairs because yours broke, so you smashed ours. To be honest, though, I'd smash any recorder because they are the worst thing ever. Like, you used to play like London's Burning. I'd be like, "Oh, please shut the fuck up."
Do you know
like,
what? Do not ever buy my children recorders, please. Emma, no.
I'll leave it a year or so they know what they're doing.
No. I will intercept it and I will smash it.
You can't do that to your child's toy.
Look, they've got ukuleles. That's plenty.
Wait until I buy them a drum kit.
Mm-mm. No. What's that?
Made sure I used to lie about how much candy I got for Halloween, yeah, or presents I got for Christmas. Double lie. Yeah.
Yeah, we've all been there, and I remember this once, Mum taking me to one side in the kitchen and saying, I hear that you've got a boyfriend at school. And I was like, what? No, where have you heard that from? And my best friend's younger sister had told my brother that I
Oh, okay.
had a boyfriend. I did have a boyfriend. And Rob had gone back and told Mum, but
Right.
obviously I just said, no, that's a load of rubbish. And she believed me. And so I broke it off with him the next day because I was literally too afraid. At the age of like 14, I was too afraid of telling them that I had a boyfriend that I did nothing with. Literally nothing.
Yeah.
We held hands. That was it.
I
You know.
remember when I was in the first year of high school. So what would I have been then? What, 13?
First year is 11, 12.
What? High school's that young? Oh, of course it
Yeah,
is. Yeah.
11.
Wow.
11
Now
at
I'm
high
older,
school.
I forget. And I was in the first year, and there was a guy that I fancied, and he asked me out. And obviously I knew I couldn't. So I just said, oh, I can't, but my best mate will. So then he went out with her instead. But like, I was really gutted the fact that I couldn't go out with him. But at school, I remember I made a few Christmas cards and then threw them away when I got home because it got to the point where you had to keep saying to the teachers all the time, I can't do this. I need to be excused. I can't do this. And it got embarrassing. Like we wasn't allowed to sit in assemblies, and then if it was religious, we had to come back in at the end just for the announcements. And lots of things we couldn't do. I remember in a music lesson they were singing Christmas carols.
Yeah.
And I just stood there miming. And then my friend Jackie said to me, why aren't you singing? And I was like, because I'm not allowed, but I don't ask to be excused out of the room. So I thought if I just pretend I'm singing, I'm not singing, so I'm not doing anything bad. So it was just like, and some friends of ours couldn't even go into RE lessons or the biology lessons where we learn about where babies come from and stuff. So there was always like so many restrictions at school. You couldn't do Valentine's cards, you couldn't do Christmas cards, you couldn't do Easter stuff. And I don't know if you knew this. In one of my lessons, I think it might have been history. No, it would have been RE actually. We were looking into different lessons, and they did a competition for the class that we had to make a mecha mat. And whoever won the competition of this mecha mat would win, I think it was Mars bars or something. So I weaved, because remember when I used to like weave little blanket things, I had like a little machine. So it was like, you know, when you go up and down through like the yarn. And I weaved this mat, and Mum asked me what it was for, and I said it was for an art lesson, but it wasn't. It was for the competition of this mecha mat, and I won. And I won these Mars bars, but I just never said like that I won. But they pinned it up like on the wall in the classroom. So then I was worried that other Jehovah's Witnesses would see that with my name on a little card saying that I'd won this competition of making this mecha mat, because obviously I wasn't allowed to do that. And they did this. I don't know if you know, I did this as well. They did the trip to the church in town.
No.
And Mum wrote a letter to excuse me from going, and I didn't hand it to the teacher. I just went and just pretended that I didn't go. But yeah, I went to the trip to the local church, because those that don't know, Jehovah's Witnesses are not allowed to go in any other churches. So yeah.
I need to go for a toilet break.
Okay.
Right, I'll be 2 seconds, okay?
Okay, cool.
Right, back in a sec.
All right, I'll carry on chatting. Good girls. Mary, we were the model Jehovah's Witnesses. What are you talking about? Like, from like what Amy was saying earlier, when we ripped what was called the Kingdom Ministry, we used to get sent out of the meetings to the back of the Kingdom Hall by our mum all the time because we'd be laughing. And we just start laughing at something. And once me and my sister get together and start laughing, that's it. We end up crying and we can't stop. And we get sent out the back for laughing. So we go and stand out the back for 5 minutes thinking we better go back in, because if you stand out there too long, you're going to get a bollocking for standing out there too long and missing the meeting. So then we'd come back in and sit down and mum would be like, are you okay now? And we'd be like, so he's like, get out the back again. So yeah, we used to get like told off all the time. So don't ask for me for these stories. I used to get sent to the principal's office when class did those things. It was humiliating to be singled out that way. It really, really was. Like, yeah, embarrassing. Schools in the US salute the flag every morning, which we couldn't do every morning, so you get stared at for not participating and then bullied for it. Yeah, like fortunately in the UK here, like saluting the flag wasn't that much of a big thing, so I can imagine.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anthony's saying he can't remember any JWs at school. You was lucky.
To be fair, during my high school, the first couple of years were really bad. Like we got quite bullied by like Lisa McKay, Ellen Owen, and
Yes.
you know that was quite bad. But as soon as they left school, it kind of got really quite easy for me.
See, when I was in the last year at school, they were there and their friends as well that used to live on the estate. When you used to walk past at school, they used to like try and trip you up in the corridor. So I used to like just stamp on their feet.
Or like they were like throwing stones at us as we were walking.
I remember that, like
school and stuff like that. It was.
And then Mum went round to his house and Mark started crying.
Yeah.
But you know what was funny? This is a bit off subject, but a couple of years ago, after me and Kate had been out for a drink, we went into the kebab place and there was this guy there and he started talking to me and Kate, and I looked at him and I was like, oh my God, that's Mark McKay. So he was talking to us and then he was trying to come on to us. So then we was like, yeah, whatever, dude. So then he started calling me and Kate lesbians. We was like, just because we don't fancy you, dude, it don't mean we're lesbians. But what if we were anyway? So anyway, I just turned around to him and goes, oh, yeah, I remember you. You was throwing stones at me and my sister all the way home from school. And then my mum came round to your house and you cried. And his mate started laughing like... And he got really angry then and started calling me all sorts then and got really angry. I was like, well, you know, you tried to dish shit to me, so I remember who you are. So, yeah, you're going to get it back.
Yeah, too right.
Right. So then, next question. What age did we get baptised and why?
Do you want to go first?
I was 13. All my friends were doing it. There was about 5 other friends my age did it. And from what I remember, the main reason I got baptised was because I was always told, if you believe the religion and you're not baptised and Armageddon comes tomorrow, God's going to judge your heart, and if you're not baptised, then you will die. So as a 13-year-old being scared of dying at Armageddon, I thought, I need to get baptized. And it was kind of like a cool thing to do. Like back then, I mean, I was 13 and we just, yeah. I wish I would have waited till I was older, and I think that they should put it in place where you only baptize adults who really know what they're doing.
Yeah. Me, I was 14. I was turned down the first time because they didn't think I was ready.
I remember that.
The only reason why I got baptized was AK. Andrew Knight.
Because of the boy you fancied.
Yeah.
For those that don't know, Jehovah's Witnesses are only supposed to marry other Jehovah's Witnesses. So if you're not baptized, then you're not looked at as a potential mate.
Yeah, he was literally the only reason why I got baptized. And he was the only reason why I went on to becoming a pioneer. Doing 50, 60 hours a month door knocking, trying to impress really. What
Yeah.
bit of a waste that was.
And I even remember that Dad and Anita, who my dad married, came and watched me get baptized at Dudley.
Yes, I remember that.
And like I was so happy they did. And yeah, now looking back, I just think it's the worst mistake you make, because once you get baptized, they
That's
have
it.
you then. Yeah. And if
Yeah.
you want to leave after that, then you are most likely going to get shunned and
Yeah.
treated like you're dead. So, you know,
Yeah.
they should stop baptizing kids.
Oh, for sure. Definitely.
Hi, Estella. Lovely lady from the Philippines.
Hi. What's our next subject?
Right then. Okay, so this might be a bit of a heavy one.
Right. I'm ready.
Punishments, beatings, smacks, curfews, restrictions that were put into place.
Okay, so the day up until I got married at the age of 19, I had to be in by 11. As for punishment smacks, I got the odd wallop here and there, but nothing like our Rob did. I think Rob bore the brunt of most of the good idings, which looking back on makes me look really, really sad. Because at the time that these punishments were happening, I didn't really think anything of it. But now, when I think about it, and because I've got sons of my own, and I don't hit my kids. I will never hit my kids. There are different ways of dealing with discipline. You do not have to hit your children. It's only since I've had kids of my own that it really sunk in, like how bad Rob was treated.
Yeah. Like I've told people experiences like I remember like being hit round the head once, and that was because where we used to go to the convention, there was like a zoo opposite.
Dudley.
So in the dinner time, we went over to this zoo. We nagged for ages. Let's go to the zoo in the dinner time. And because we were kids and we were bored and we didn't want to go back to the assembly, we purposely wandered off and purposely got lost so we could go back late. So then eventually, like, our mum and stepdad caught up with us, and we had like our stepbrother and sister with us at the time. And obviously we got a bollocking because we ran off, we made them late going back to the convention, and stepdad just like smacked us round the head. And then I remember John going, ha ha, he missed me because he ducked. And then the next thing, I didn't miss you that time. And that's the only time I remember getting smacked, except for I was telling someone the other day, a mistake where you wouldn't go to sleep. And we were talking, but I used to sleep in the top bunk and me and you would swap beds. So you was in my bed and I was in your bed. So obviously stepdad knew it was you that wouldn't shut up and go to sleep. So he comes storming into the room, rips back the quilt cover from me, smack, and walks out. And I'm like, that was me, not Amy, because I was in your bed. So I kind of got the smack for that. But like, I don't even know how much. I don't know how much Rob wants me to say. I know I've asked Rob before. I know Rob, our younger brother, cannot come on and talk about this himself, but I looking back, we thought it was the norm.
Yeah.
To get beatings. Fair enough. He would barefaced lie. He would do something and we'd say, why did you do that? And he'd say, I didn't. But over petty little things, like I seen him bent over stepdad's lap and it would be like whack, whack, whack. It's where they started off using a wooden spoon. And then the wooden spoon broke and it had a crack in it. So Rob was begging them to buy a new one because not only was it smacking him, it was pinching him at the same time. And then when they realised that the wooden spoon wasn't hurting him enough, they moved on to the leather slipper. And then when that wasn't hurting him enough, they moved on to the plastic straps that held the sandwich boxes together. So it's just like, why do you need to move on to different items that are just going to cause more and more physical pain? Because obviously he got used to one level, then got used to another level. And now,
sparing the rod, isn't it?
That's what they used to say, isn't it? Spare the rod, spoil the child. And
it's not.
We thought that was normal, and looking back now, it's horrific. Like, I remember Rob crying, being upset because his t-shirt neck on it, his favourite t-shirt, got stretched because stepdad grabbed him by his t-shirt and pulled him and literally like threw him up the stairs.
Yeah,
and Rob
I
was
remember
more upset about the fact that then his t-shirt neckline was messed out of place. Like, so I don't know.
I remember that so well.
Can it be passed off as that's just what people did back then? But then did non-Jehovah's Witnesses go through that kind of, do you know what I mean? Like, someone else is saying now that bamboo was his dad's favourite, and I've heard so many other ex-Jehovah's Witnesses like tell me experiences of them being beaten, like literally physically beaten and put in rooms and starved. And
do you know what? This is what's made me the mother I am today.
Yeah.
Because my kids, they're my absolute world. You know, I just can't even imagine hitting them.
Yeah.
I just can't, you know, I mean, I've got 2 4-year-olds and they push my buttons daily, but there is no fucking way I would ever lay a hand on them in anger like that. I just not. It's not. Do you know what? I didn't even realise the extent of it until I became a mother myself, and it is just like how I just don't understand how anyone who is a mother can lay their hands on their kids like that. I just can't comprehend it in my brain.
Yeah.
It's just
like, I spoke to Anthony a lot because like his mum went to Roman Catholic school, and she was forced to use her right hand because the left hand was controlled by the devil, apparently.
What?
Yeah.
That's crazy. So that's what's up with our brother then. He's left-handed, isn't he?
Yeah. It's the devil in disguise. Are you out there, Rob? Extreme. Definitely like physical abuse, like Amy said. Yeah, never lay a hand on my son.
I think, do you know what? My mum taught me how not to be a mum. That is, I just do everything the opposite to what mum did.
And that's really sad.
She taught me how not to be a mum. And yes, okay, we were fed and we were clothed and we were warm. We had the early holiday. But that's just like basic, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know.
But then it does make me wonder, like, what kind of mom would have been without the religion.
Out of the religion.
And
Yeah.
that we will never know. Like when I speak to our auntie, she was saying to me like, what a fun person Mum was. Mum was always like a really, really fun person, and I don't know, I think the religion changed her in a lot of ways. And then
Yeah.
if you think about the fact that Mum went back to the religion because she had a nightmare about Armageddon. So Mum went back to the religion because of the brainwashing that Granddad did to Mum.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
even though, like, obviously I'm angry because they've shunned me for 24 years, but at the same time, Mum went back because of the brainwashing that she had put on her as a child. So it's like it's a vicious circle, and that's why I'm really glad that me, you, and Rob, we've kind of like broke that third generation.
Yeah.
Where, do you know what I mean? I don't have kids, but if I did, they would not go anywhere near that religion. Do you know what I mean? You've got 2 children, they're not going to be in the religion. Rob's got 3 children, they're not going to be in the religion. So at least we've come to the point where we're not going to keep repeating history.
Yeah.
And talking about, you know, I uploaded a load of photos, but I haven't shown any of them yet because we was talking about like dress style earlier, and getting to just before I left. Right, let me see if I can find this. I always used to get complained about by the elders' wives, always moaning that I was dressing goth. I was going, when in the last 2 years I was in, about age 19, 20, early 21, I was dressing like a cross between Marilyn Manson and Shakespeare Sisters.
Yeah.
So I would go to the meeting dressed like that, and then one of the elders took me to the front of the hall and said to me, I don't know whether the elders' room was already busy or what, I don't know, said to me, you're dressing too goth, it's too worldly. And I was like, okay. And he says, you wear too much black. I was like, okay. So I went home from the meeting and I looked in my mum's catalogue where I used to get all my clothes from, and I found a jacket. I ordered it on 48-hour delivery, and it was this jacket.
Yes.
And then let me take that off. So I ordered that, and it was like lime green on the back, luminous pink at the front, purple down the sides, and I wore that to the next meeting as if to say, is that bright enough for you?
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that so well.
And we went on holiday to Wales, and I used to always go into the hippie shops, and I used to buy like the floor length tie-dye skirts, and our stepdad picked up this skirt, and it was brown with bright orange tie-dye slashes all across it. Now, it wasn't a skirt that I would have chose, but he held it up and he says to me, what do you think, blah, blah, the elder would think about that? And I was like, sold, I'm buying it, put it on the counter. So, pardon me, when we got back off holiday, I wore that to the first meeting when we got back. Which, do you remember this? Right, this is on holiday.
Yep.
And I used to wear cycling shorts under cut-off jeans.
Yeah.
And then the one time, stepdad came to me and says, you need to stop wearing those shorts. And I was like, why? I wear cycling shorts underneath. They don't look immodest. I mean, look, you can't see anything. They're not immodest. And one of the brothers in the congregation had gone to stepdad and said that they drove past me in a van with his work friends, and his friends had said lewd comments about me.
I remember that.
So I was banned from wearing those shorts.
Yeah.
So you might kill me for this, Amy.
Oh my God.
So, well, I'll go first. So this is embarrassingly some of the stuff I used to wear as a Jehovah's Witness. I made that skirt. Like, I think I was about 18 there. Yeah. Embarrassing. And this is little Amy.
Oh God. Do you know what? I got actually told off about that.
That's a short skirt, that is.
Yes, that was at our stepsister's wedding. That was at Ruth's wedding, and I wore it to do a talk with a sister who was not baptized but wore shorter skirts than that, and basically they took Steve aside and said, we can't counsel her on her skirt length when your wife is wearing skirts that are above her knee.
You rebel.
So I was not allowed to wear that again, ever. And through my controlling marriage, like, Steve literally he chose all my clothes, basically.
Right, okay.
And yeah, I was not allowed to wear that suit again, ever.
So I'm going to flick through some pictures that I uploaded and I haven't put on because we've been chatting. So that's me and Amy when we were little. That's a bit pixelated because that's literally like a photo of a photo. Proper, like, I was talking to Dwayne on his status, like 70s photos, like they scream like 70s. So, and
I'm the cute one, by the way.
I guess that's where my wacky dress sense started.
Yeah.
Though I doubt I chose those clothes myself. Maybe I did. Who knows? What do you mean you're the cute one? So there we are again. And here's before we became Jehovah's Witnesses, where we did have early Christmases. We don't really remember. This is when we used to go and see our dad like every fortnight. I don't think we mentioned that. He used to come and pick us up and we used to go and see.
Yeah.
Oh, what do I look like? I look like a fucking chav. Look at me, like with my gold chain and my red tracksuit, and so.
Oh, granddad.
There's us again. You can just about make out Dad there in the background with his tosh. So yeah, at this point, I want to say props to our dad because, you know, he didn't want anything to do with the religion, but he's never judged us for any of our choices. So, you know, he's just said to us, no matter what you do, I'll always be there for you. So
yeah, Dad's a legend, an absolute legend.
Shout out to Dad. And this one, we look like Mormons. I was talking to someone the other day about how much hairspray I used to use. Like, look at my hair. That's me at the back, by the way, and Amy at the front.
Oh my God, yeah.
Amy used to be able to sit on her hair to the point where she'd lean forward and brush her hair, and then she'd stand on her hair and do a gambol. And then she'd go to the hairdressers and have it like cut right up to her shoulders. And then 2 years later, it'd be down to her arse again. I'd be like,
yeah,
how do you do that?
It's all shaved now.
Do you remember this? I organised a party, but I don't know if I did it on purpose or accidentally did it on Red Nose Day. And it was one of the first Red Nose Days. So Mum was like, I'm not sure if you should still have the party. And we was like, oh, we'll do it anyway. Because, like, Jehovah's Witness parties were so boring. Like,
all because you wanted to invite Carl Brennan.
Yeah, because I fancied him. And do you remember this one? So,
yeah, that was at Nicky Itchman's.
So there's you at the front in the pink skirt.
Yeah, next to Nan.
And Nan Velio in the white dress. And then I'm directly behind you with the black cardigan on. So we used to go to some Jehovah's Witness parties, but they were boring. Like, you'd end up playing Pictionary, and I used to avoid them at all costs because they were just so boring.
Yeah. So why did you have to put that one up?
Because I was going to talk about how you was always in my wardrobe. And because I used to, like, buy a lot of clothes out of Mum's catalogue, you always used to be, like, in my wardrobe trying to get my clothes. And then when I left, I literally, like, gave you half my wardrobe that I knew that I wasn't going to wear again because it was, like, meeting stuff that I couldn't.
Something I've probably never told you. When you were on holiday with Nan, I think it was, I was 17 and I was having that mole removed off my waist. I wore your Levi jeans to my doctor's appointment to have that mole removed, and
Oh,
Dr. Cutting
you
got
did tell me, but only recently.
yeah, Dr. Cutting got loads of blood all over your jeans, and Mum went mad.
Yeah, because I only used to buy Levi's, and they were like £40 a pair.
Yeah, and Mum had to battle to try and get them clean before you come out.
Oh, you never told me at the time. See, this
Yeah.
is me and you as
Oh
well.
my God. That's
Like,
at Michelle Smith's wedding. Michelle Cobby?
that was at the Beefeater, wasn't it?
No.
Wasn't it? I thought that was at a hen night at the Beefeater.
No, that was at her wedding.
Oh, okay. So then here's me and you at Dad's
Oh
wedding.
my God. Jesus.
And then Mum really hated the fact that I wore like a trouser suit, and I was like, well, it's not a Jehovah's Witness wedding, so I don't have to wear a skirt. I'll wear a trouser suit.
Do you know what? That dress Mum bought me when I was 13, and I was still wearing it when I was like 24.
Wow. Look what I've got around my neck as well. That's when I was seeing Steve. I'm wearing the dog tags.
Yeah, but you were with Michael then.
Yeah, he never liked me wearing the dog tags, did he? So here's us on holiday.
No, good old London now.
And we was going to talk about that because even though like we went on holiday, we
Yeah.
our parents always used to have to go and find the Kingdom Hall.
Yeah.
So even though we was on holiday, we still had to go to the meetings.
Mhm.
I mean, we met some cool people, but we at least thought, well, we'd get a break from the meetings while we're on holiday, but no.
No, not a chance.
We still had to go. And the funny story I remembered the other day is the day before we were due to go home, Amy realised that she left her coat in the Kingdom Hall. So we had no idea how to get this coat back because it wasn't a Kingdom Hall where we knew people that well. So because I fancied the guy that used to come and open the Kingdom Hall, I kind of took notice what direction he used to come from because we'd be there early because in Wales they were so laid back. So we'd be there like here we used to have to get to the meeting at least half hour before it starts. There they'll turn up and open the doors a minute so before it starts. So we were stood outside waiting. So Craig used to come down and let us in. So it was like, well, the guy with the keys lives up that road, but we don't know anything else. So me and Amy had to go and try and find where this dude lived to try and get Amy's coat back before we had to go home because it was locked in the Kingdom Hall. So we went down this road and we turned left. I was like, where do we go now? So we just turned down this street and was like, we're never going to find out where he lives. It's impossible. And then the next minute we hear this like knocking on a window and we look up and there he is like waving at us and we're like, what the hell? How is that even possible? So we was like, come here. So he come down and was like, Amy's left a coat in the Kingdom Hall toilets. Going home tomorrow. We need to like go and get a coat. So he gave us the keys to the Kingdom Hall. So we walk back to the Kingdom Hall, but we can't get in. For some reason, we can't get in the door. So we then have to go back and embarrassingly say to him, we can't get in. And he said, well, there's a knack with it where you had to like pull it or something. So he gets on his bike and then goes back to the Kingdom Hall to get Amy's coat. And it was just like, oh my God, like so embarrassing. But yeah, like even having to go to like holiday meetings on holidays was crazy.
Yeah, and the fact that the one time they not only showed up half an hour late for the actual meeting, the guy who was in charge taking the meeting turned up in shorts and t-shirt and sandals and very, very long socks. So like our stepdad, who was an elder at the time, was like very taken aback.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was a very, very laid back congregation.
Yeah.
So much so that go on.
I remember when a transgender male to female answered up.
Yes.
In
Stephanie.
the meeting and like you remember the now like and our elder stepdad was like, what? They let them answer up, and like he was like shocked. It was just like, well,
yeah, it just shows what closed minds they've got, you know, like where them in London, they accepted him and well, her, sorry, and so they should. But like, our stepdad was like absolutely horrified, and because he was horrified, we were horrified.
yeah.
But looking back on it now, I'm just like, they're still people, they're still humans, you know. Why treat them any differently?
Exactly.
And you know, back then, I was like probably what 12, 13 at the time. I mean, like I'm 40, nearly 43 now, and you know, they shouldn't be treated any differently. And those in London didn't treat them any differently. And that's the right way to be.
Yeah.
But it just shows like, how closed-minded they are, really.
Yeah. So then, next subject. Did we feel pressured into courting, and did we like having chaperones? So just to quickly explain to non-XJWs, courting is another word for dating, and chaperone is when you were not allowed to be left alone in case you did anything immoral. So you always had to have a third person with you, no matter where you went or where you were. You couldn't even get in a car with somebody you was dating unless you had a third person with you.
Yeah.
So
do you want to go first? Seeing that you were courting before I was.
Well, yeah, I started seeing somebody from a few miles away, like, but it was never anything official. And it was like you had to wait till you were 18 to actually like officially court in the religion. And there was somebody who I was best friends with two girls, and I got to know their older brother as well, and we became really good friends. And we used to hang out, and obviously I used to have to drag Amy along with me or my brother because we were still friends, but boys and girls aren't allowed to be alone together. So, you know, we started hanging out and becoming really good friends. And then the elders ended up turning around and saying to my stepdad elder that I needed to either court this guy or stop hanging around with him. And he was like a best friend to me, and I didn't want to give up that friendship. And I thought I kind of fancied him, but I wasn't 100% sure. So I kind of felt like pushed into it. So we decided to court, and we ended up getting engaged. But for me, it didn't work out. So I called it off. And if you ever watch this, I'm sorry. I broke his heart, and you know, it wasn't intentional. It wasn't right for me. So I called it off, and that was like a big thing. Like, it's very frowned upon to call off an engagement. But then after that, my stepdad did say to me that he should have told the elders to mind their own business and not pressure me into, you know, into doing that. So I don't know whether them pressuring caused what happened, like whether we would have took longer to get into it might have worked out, I don't know. But to just have that massive pressure on you that you can't even have like males as good friends, and then obviously he ended up really hurt from it. And you know, I just really regret that that's the way it turned out. So yeah.
With me, Steve. So, right, I have actually literally posted this on a dysfunctional family group.
Okay.
On Facebook. Right, with Steve, when I was 10, we used to go ice skating a lot, didn't we?
Yeah, because I used to arrange a lot of ice skating trips.
Yeah, so anyway, we used to travel with Rose, and one day her car broke down, and we were stuck without a ride home. So obviously we were separated into other people's cars to get home. And I was put into Sharon Barber's car to get home, and Steve was the front passenger. I was 10, right? Remember this, 10. He was 17 at the time. He turned around to me and he said, I'm going to marry you when you're older. And I didn't think anything of it at the time because I was 10. You know, thoughts like that didn't even enter my head. And
I'm really sorry. Can I just dash for a toilet break? I thought we was only going to do an hour, and I think because we've chatted. But yeah, okay. So feel free to carry on chatting.
All right, okay.
Right, sorry. So, I'll be back in a second.
I was 10 years old and I got this 17-year-old male telling me that he was going to marry me when I was older. So I didn't see him for another 7 years. So I was 17 at the time. And we stumbled across paths, like going out and that. And he showed an interest in me. He was like 24 at the time, I think, and he showed a massive interest in me. Now, he was viewed as the local heartthrob, you know, there's quite a few that fancied him. So I was quite taken aback by his interest in me. I was 17, I'd never had a boyfriend, and my parents at first were really against it, but he was really insistent, so they come to some sort of arrangement that we would see each other twice a week, once a week out with friends and once a week with family. And this carried on until I was 18, and then we were engaged. We were allowed to date officially. And then, you know, we were courting, and then we got engaged when I was 18, and then we were married by 19. And it's only like recently I've realised just how predatory that was, because the age gap and how young I was. But I didn't, you just don't think about it at the time. And this man,
that's shocking, that is.
You know, this man turned out to be my abuser.
Which we're going to do a part 2 where we're going to talk about, because me and you both keep hearing my microphone. Me and you both got into abusive relationships. You in the JW org, me out the JW org. So we're going to go in more into depth about that in part 2. So our the last question we was going to ask. So I decided when I was 21, I was going to leave, and I told our mum and stepdad that I don't want to go to the meetings anymore. And they basically says to me, well, you have 8 weeks to move out of home.
Yeah.
Bear in mind, I was working part-time because I was expected to knock doors the rest of my time. So you're encouraged to only do like part-time jobs. So I had no financial backing. So my nan worked for a loan company that was very, very, very high interest. Yeah. So because they told me I had to move out, I spoke to my nan, and she managed to get me this loan, which she shouldn't have been able to, but because she was my relative, she swindled me this loan. And then I found out that it was my boss's birthday party, and my mum and stepdad says to me, this was like, the birthday party was 4 weeks into my 8 weeks notification. So they says to me, if you go to that birthday party, you are not welcome back home. So then I was like, okay, that gives me 4 weeks. to move
Was that
out.
Ollie?
Yeah.
Mm.
And I loved Ollie to bits, so there's no way I
Mm.
wanted to miss her birthday party. So I ended up moving. I went to the birthday party and I ended up moving in with a lad who was an unbaptized publisher. He was raised in the organisation, but he'd left as well. So I ended up getting into a relationship with him, which was the abusive relationship, which we're going to go into in our next chat. But so I kind of, God, I remember walking away that day and Amy, you says to him, if you ever hurt her, I'll come after you with a frying pan.
Yeah.
And I literally went up the road and waited for a taxi and sat there and cried. And I just thought, oh my God, I've just had to walk away from my whole family, my friends, because I don't want to be in this religion anymore. And my plan was to fade away. And I was still working with the Jehovah's Witness. And I ended up having sex with the guy that I live with. And I either spoke about it in front of my friend who was a Jehovah's Witness, but her and 4 other friends of mine, we were all planning to leave the religion together, to live together. They all backed out. This friend ended up telling her dad that I'd had sex. He was an elder. So then they obviously told our stepdad, who was an elder. So I went back a few weeks after I'd left to go and pick up my belongings from home, expecting to pack up my own bedroom, and it was all packed up there, ready for me, waiting in the hallway. And I just thought, wow, just shove me out the fucking door, why don't you? Like, really? So then I remember Mom called me into the bedroom and she was like, I need to talk to you. We've heard you've had sex with this guy. And I was like, yeah. And they said, well, if you don't go to a judicial meeting and talk to the elders about it, then we will have to. And I didn't want to have to put them through that because I didn't think it was fair on them. And also the elders had found out where I'd moved to and were sitting in their cars waiting outside. Well, they'd come and knocked on the door and Adrian had told them that I wasn't there. And then I literally went to the chip shop over the road to get lunch. And as I come back, they come chasing me up the street. Emma, we need to talk to you. So they'd sat in their cars, like waiting outside for me. So obviously I ended up going to the judicial meeting and they said, are you sorry for having sex? And I was like, no. They said, are you going to do it again? I said, yes.
Probably.
They said, well, we have no choice but to disfellowship you. So I was like, okay. And then obviously, like, I've been shunned ever since for 24 years. So I wanted to touch on kind of like how that affected you when I left.
Well, I was approaching a very important time in a girl's life. Like, after you left, I think I got engaged like a couple of months after you left. But I remember coming out our front door and Adrian was sitting on the pavement. And I said to him, you look after her or I'm going to kill you.
Yeah, you said you'll come after him with a frying pan, I remember it.
Oh, did I? I can't.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
You said I'll come after you with a frying pan.
Did I?
Yeah.
And he promised he would look after you. And now that I find out that he didn't, it just infuriates me. I mean, I know that's dead and buried. I know you've spoke to Adrian since.
I've not forgiven him. But we'll get into that on the next time.
Coming up to such an important time in my life, like getting engaged and married, I wanted my sister there. And I spoke to the person who was doing our wedding talk and I said, like, how can I get my sister there? And they said you can invite her to the ceremony, but she has to sit at the back and she can't come to the reception. And I was like, what? That's weird.
Mm.
So obviously with pressure, you didn't end up getting an invitation at all. So, but to be honest, it's not really a day that I would have wanted you to witness.
Mm.
You know, you were there for my marriage to Dan. You know, you were my maid of honor when I got married to Dan, and that's the main one, because I'm happy.
Yeah.
I'm free, and my marriage to Steve was not as important, nowhere near as important as my marriage is now.
Yeah.
So although you missed out on that marriage back then, you got to witness the most important one.
Yeah.
So, you know, that doesn't, although it affected me at the time, it doesn't really bother me now because of the memories that we've replaced it with.
I remember you saying to me that you cried yourself to sleep when I left, and
Yeah.
I still feel bad for that, but I knew that I felt bad for leaving you and Rob behind, because like Rob was coming into my room and borrowing my Nirvana CDs, and he was wearing my tie-dye tops. And I always tell people this story, that it was about 2 years before I left. I was house sitting my nan's house because she was on holiday. And my friend was house sitting with me, and that's the only way I ever got to sit apart from my mum and stepdad at a convention, because they were very strict on you had to sit by them. And they said to us, you need to look for us when you go to the convention and come and sit with us. So we pretended we looked for them and couldn't find them. But if you think this is like a football stadium full of thousands of people, so we pretended we couldn't find them. So then we were sitting there, and then obviously there's like all these talks going on, like the convention, and then I heard somebody say, fathers or elders or dads or whatever, do you listen to your child's CD collection? And I just looked at my friend, and she looked at me, and I was like, whoa, like, no, because stepdad, he'd already made me throw away a few albums. Like, I'd come home from work and he'd be like, throw this away, why? And it was an Aerosmith album, best of. One song said, dude looks like a lady. Obviously, they're transphobic in Jehovah's Witnesses. And shit was said in another title. So we'd sat there listening to the record and said, you need to throw that away. I was like, I'm not throwing it away. That cost me $14.99. Like, you remember when CDs like were that expensive? And he says, well, you're not allowed to play it in this house. So as soon as that came out, I was sat there like in thousands of people, and I said to my friend, when we go on dinner break, I need to find my sister. And she was like, why? Because I need to get her to put my Metallica, my Nirvana, my Pixies, my Guns N' Roses CDs under my mattress. So when stepdad goes in my room, he's not going to find them. And she's like, was it like 14,000 people? No, I can't remember how many used to be at the assembly. It was like
about 6,000 or 7,000.
I was like, I need to find it, and I managed to find you. And I was like, Amy, please put these CDs under my mattress, because I'm going back to Nan's tonight. I'm not going home. And you did it for me, and I was like really, really thankful that you hid my CDs. So
it was sorry, I've spilt a glass of wine on my bed. I'm stripping it off at the minute.
How dare you spill wine?
I know. Yeah, I remember that. I remember that time so well. I really do. And it's sad that you have to limit your music taste because of that. It's just it seems alien to me. I mean, I've been left like 11 years now, and it just seems weird.
Yeah,
it is really, really weird.
Like, I used to sit there singing REM, Losing My Religion. I used to be sat on my bed in our bedroom singing that really loud, and they never got it. That's
but
me,
do you know what?
That's me losing my religion, and they never twigged onto that.
No, do you know what I've always said? you don't realise how brainwashed you are until you're out of it.
Yeah.
It wasn't. I think it took me about 6 months of being out of the religion just to realise just how brainwashed they are.
And I remember getting home from work one day and I had a Guns N' Roses picture on, because me and Amy shared a room, but I split the room into two by putting the wardrobe across.
Yeah.
So my bed was kind of like behind the wardrobe, and on the back of the wardrobe, in Smash Hits magazine, there was a Guns N' Roses picture. So I'd got a marker pen and I'd crossed out all the lyrics and just had it as a picture, thinking Mum's not going to have a clue who Axl Rose is.
Yeah.
So then in my bedside table, I had oh God, this is fucking embarrassing to admit. I had a picture of the dude out of Big Fun.
Oh my God.
That I used to fancy, and I'd folded his picture up and put it in this like plastic photo frame that Mum had brought. So I got home from work the one day, and these two posters were like screwed up on my bed. And when I opened it, she'd wrote in big, massive black marker pen letters, "Flee from idols," on these posters, and screwed them up on my bed. And I was like, I don't know, how the hell does Mum know who Axl Rose is to start with?
Really?
I had no idea, but like I was just like, okay.
That is mad. I don't remember that.
And I remember, like, I had a long sleeved. I was telling Anthony about this the other day. I had a long sleeved Oasis band T-shirt, and we were sat at the dinner table, and Stepdad said to me, "What's Oasis?" And I said,
Right.
"Oh, it's a shop in Birmingham." Which was true. There was a shop in Birmingham called Oasis. He was like, okay. So he thought it was just a brand name. So then a few weeks later, he came to me and he was like, "You're not allowed to wear that top anymore." I was like, "Why?" He went, "Because I know who Oasis are." And they'd admitted that they took drugs. So do you remember, like, every time Oasis came on the radio, they'd turn the radio off?
No.
Yeah, or anytime Madonna come on, they'd turn the radio off. Or if Prince came on, they'd turn the radio off.
Do you know what's really weird though? When I was like 16, 17, like, because like I remember, because I was interested in Lloyd first before Steve.
Yeah.
And like he bought me a Blur top.
Right.
And it was it was like a crop top, like a proper crop top. And I was allowed to wear that. And it was weird because, like, you know, you weren't allowed to get away with anything.
Well, I was telling me, Mary, like, we both did our nails yesterday, and she took a picture and showed me, and I showed her mine. And I was saying, like, that I remember being sat around the table, dinner table, and I was about 20 at this time, 19, 20. And Stepdad says to me, "Why are your little fingernails a different colour to the rest of your hands?" And I was like, "Because that's the way I did it." And he went, "Well, that's worldly. You need to stop doing that."
Really?
Right? I'm 45, look, and I still do it. But I had to stop doing it while I lived at home because, like, having a different colour nail varnish on your little fingernails apparently was worldly. So it was like,
really?
Okay.
My nails. This is what happens when you have kids. You don't get any nails.
You still bite yours. You used to bite yours. Terrible.
No, I don't bite them now. I cut them because I end up scratching the boys and they moan at me.
Do you remember that Stop and Grow?
Yes. Yes.
It was like some nail varnish stuff that you'd paint on and it just tasted rank, and it was supposed to like stop you biting your nails.
Yes, I remember that very well.
Yeah.
It was horrible.
I remember one of my best mates at school always used to chew the end of my pens, and to the point where the plastic bit would pop out the top. So I put your Stop and Grow on the end of a pen. Yeah. And then in the middle of the class, she chewed the pen and just went, "Ah!" and threw it the other side of the room. And I was like, well, that'll stop you chewing my pens.
Yeah. I'm just changing my top because the other one's full of wine.
I can't believe you spilt wine, man. You're not a relative of mine. And you've managed to leave the the stream. So I think anyway for part 1, I think we've done all the subjects. So we are going to need to do a part 2. You're saying you are back.
Oh God, bloody phone. I need to put you on
fucked
charge.
off again. I think we've covered all our subjects so far, though, for what we were going to do tonight, because then we're going to do another one where we talk about the abuse that happened to us, and then you're going to talk about how you was removed from the religion and shunned, so
yeah.
So it's been good to like chat about old times and
it has.
And we've literally only scratched the surface, like, but I think these kind of videos are good to give people insight to what we've been through, and I am really happy that you came on and did this with me. So
It's all right. We'll have to do part 2 soon.
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
So I'm going to give a shout out to my next chat with somebody, because I was talking the other day about if you could hear me along the feedback that was going on. I've published like some victim stories, ex-Jehovah's Witness stories, so I'm going to try and get some of those victims to come on and do just like a chat with me. And on Wednesday at 4:00, I haven't set up a stream for it yet, but I will be chatting to Rachel. She's a lovely lady. She's supported me a lot with my activism, because for people that don't know, I print stickers and flyers and send them out to people. So I have a few people in the XJW community that donate, and it goes to all my materials. It goes on the ink, the paper, the stickers, the postage. And yesterday I sent stickers to the USA, Australia, some to the UK. Last week I sent some to Canada. And with the donations that Rachel's given me, I can carry on doing more streams like this, because this is a software that I have to pay for. And it's on a monthly basis. But with Rachel's donations that she's given me recently, I know I can at least do another 2 months of this. So what I'm asking is, if I've told your story or not even told your story, if you're an abuse victim, whether it's mental, physical, psychological, you want to come and chat about how shunning has affected your life, then my platform is open to you. Because we need to get the word out there. The public need to know what's going on behind the doors of Jehovah's Witnesses.
Well, the next one with me and you is going to be very interesting. Because it not only gets into my 12-year marriage of my 12 years of abuse.
Yeah.
Some pretty gory details. But also your own abusive relationship as well when you left.
Yeah, because the guy I got with was an unbaptized publisher, and after 6 months he turned abusive. So yeah, and I want to talk about how, because of the religion, I was stuck in that relationship.
Yeah.
So I'll make sure I wear waterproof mascara for that one, because it's going to be it's going to be an intense show. But it's like, I've never really, I know you haven't either, I've never really spoke out about this 100%.
Yeah, I mean, obviously
I've mentioned things, but not 100% spoke about it.
No, I mean, I've told Dan pretty much that, what I went through. But yeah, it's still it's really unbelievable. And now the person that I am now, I would never put up with that shit now. It's just like
same. But when you're in that position, and you just, I don't know what it is. I've always been such a fucking strong-minded person, even in the religion. But then when you're stuck in a situation where you're being abused, but you feel like you can't get out of it.
Yeah.
That's what the difference is. Like, if we had options of other places to go, like, I couldn't go back home unless I wanted to be a Jehovah's Witness. You was married to a witness, so if you were going to leave, you were more than likely, like you did, go back home to mum and stepdad. So it puts you in a situation where I never understood. I used to think, when I used to watch Trisha and everything like that back in the day, why don't they just leave? Why don't they just get out?
Easy.
And then once you're in the situation of domestic violence and you can't get out, and you try everything to get out and you can't, and then you stop and realise it's not that easy. It's not black and white.
It isn't.
So, yeah.
I mean, it like Steve changed the day we got married. It still took me 12 years to get out.
Yeah.
It was, it was only after 12 years of the abuse that I actually plucked up the courage to say, I'm out. I don't want to be married to you anymore.
Yeah.
And it was scary because I had no idea where my life was going.
Yeah.
But
so if you want to hear more of mine and Amy's stories of the abuse we went through, how we've kind of come out the other side, yeah, we'll let you know. Yeah. So shall we fuck off now? Because like we've nearly done 2 hours. Like I thought we was going to do about an hour, but like I knew that once we started getting into it, that there'd be a lot to talk about. So yeah. So if
the next, bring your tissues for the next one.
Yeah, definitely. So
my lovely.
Thank you for everybody that listened and asked us questions. So anyway, Amy, don't fuck off yet. I'm going to end the live and then we'll be backstage on our own. So
okay.
So catch me Wednesday talking to the lovely Rachel. You don't want to miss it. Bye.
Bye.